The knife sliced through my palm before I could scream, and as my blood dripped onto the ancient stone, the Alpha King's eyes turned from amber to obsidian black, because my blood, the blood of a worthless Omega, smelled like mate. I watched the crimson drops fall, each one sealing a fate I'd spent 22 years trying to avoid. Around me, the grand hall of the Volkov estate fell silent. 300 wolves stopped breathing at once. This wasn't supposed to happen. The claiming ceremony was a formality, nothing more. Unmated wolves from every pack in the territory lined up like livestock, presented to Alpha King Dmitry Volkov so he could look us over and dismiss us. He'd done this twice a year for the past decade, never choosing anyone. Never showing interest. I'd planned to be just another face in the crowd. Sage Brennan of the Crescent Shadow Pack. The herald's voice had echoed through the hall 10 minutes ago, and I'd stepped forward on shaking legs, head down, exactly as I'd been taught. Be small. Be invisible. Take your suppressants and pray no one notices you exist. The pills I'd swallowed that morning were supposed to mask everything, my scent, my presence, the strange pull I'd felt toward this place since I was old enough to understand what a mate bond was. My family couldn't afford the good suppressants, the ones that actually worked, but the cheap ones had been enough for years. Until today. Until the ceremonial blade that should have pricked my finger slipped in the herald's nervous hands and carved a line across my palm instead. Now Alpha King Dmitry Volkov stood from his throne, and every wolf in the room dropped their eyes. Not me. I couldn't look away. I'd never been this close to him before, had only seen him from a distance at pack gatherings, a dark figure of legend and terror. He was tall, well over 6 feet, with shoulders that seemed to fill the space around him. Black hair fell to his collar, framing a face that might have been handsome if it wasn't so cold. But it was his eyes that held me frozen, those amber eyes that had turned black as pitch the moment my blood hit the stone. Impossible, someone whispered behind me. The Alpha King descended the steps with a predator's grace. Each footfall echoed in the silence. He was 32, had ruled since he was 21, and the stories about him would make seasoned warriors flinch. Ruthless. Merciless. A killer who'd unified the packs through fear and bloodshed. And he was walking straight toward me. I wanted to run. Every instinct screamed at me to bolt, but my legs wouldn't move. The bond, the mate bond I'd never wanted, never asked for, wrapped around my chest like steel cables, pulling me toward him. Give me your hand. His voice was dark velvet, a command that my body obeyed before my brain could protest. I held out my bleeding palm. He took it, his skin warm against mine, and I felt the bond snap into place like a lock turning. The world tilted. Colors became brighter. Sounds sharpened. And underneath it all, I felt him, his power, his rage, his shock that mirrored my own. You've been taking suppressants. It wasn't a question. He pressed his thumb against the cut, and I gasped as heat flooded through me. Not healing, he wasn't healing me. He was testing me, reading my blood like a book. For years. Why? I couldn't answer. Couldn't tell him that Omegas from packs like mine didn't get happy endings. That girls like me disappeared when powerful wolves took interest. That my family had secrets that would get us all killed if anyone looked too closely. Dmitry's jaw tightened. He turned to face the crowd, still holding my hand, his grip iron strong. This Omega is my mate. His voice carried to every corner of the hall. By blood and bond, I claim Sage Brennan as my queen. The crowd erupted. Gasps, shouts, the scrape of chairs as people stood. In the front row, my mother's face had gone white as snow. My father looked like he might be sick. They knew what this meant. The blood debt. The rival pack. The promise made before I was born that would come due the moment anyone in our family rose to power. But I barely saw them. Because in the second row, standing rigid with his hands clenched at his sides, was Kirin Volkov. The Alpha King's younger brother. 26, with the same dark hair as Dmitry but warmer eyes that had smiled at me at the last pack gathering when I'd served drinks and tried not to stare. We'd talked that night, hidden in the garden where no one could see, an Omega and a prince breaking protocol. He'd made me laugh. Made me feel like maybe I wasn't invisible after all. We'd met 3 more times after that, always in secret. He'd never said the words, never made promises we both knew he couldn't keep, but the way he looked at me had made me hope. Made me dream of a future where someone might choose me not because of a bond forced by biology, but because they wanted to. Now Kieran was staring at his brother's hand wrapped around mine, and the heartbreak on his face cracked something in my chest. Dimitri. Kieran's voice cut through the noise. A word. In private. No. The Alpha King's response was flat, final. The claim is made. The bond is witnessed. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. Dimitri's fingers tightened on mine, and I felt his wolf rise beneath his skin, a massive presence that made my own Omega wolf whimper and try to submit. She is mine. That is the end of this discussion. Kieran looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw it all in his eyes. The stolen moments, the almost kisses, the plans we'd never quite made. I wanted to tell him I was sorry. That I didn't want this. That I'd tried so hard to avoid this exact fate. But before I could speak, a commotion erupted at the back of the hall. Alpha King. A messenger burst through the doors, breathing hard. The Blackthorn pack is at the northern border. They're demanding an audience. His eyes found me, and his face paled. They say they've come to collect a debt from the Brennan family. The room went deathly quiet. My father made a sound like a wounded animal. My mother grabbed his arm, tears streaming down her face. And I knew, we all knew, that the blood debt had come due 20 years early. Because I'd become exactly what my family had sworn I'd never be. Visible. Dimitri's hand still held mine, his thumb now pressed against my racing pulse. He looked down at me, those black eyes seeing too much, reading too much. What debt? He asked softly, dangerously. I opened my mouth to answer, but no words came out. How could I explain that my existence had been purchased with a promise? That the Blackthorn pack had saved my mother's life when I was born, and in return, my family had sworn that no Brennan would ever rise above their station. We would remain in the weakest pack, in the shadows, powerless. If we broke that oath, the Blackthorns could claim our lives. All of them. My parents. My younger sister. Me. And I'd just broken it in the most spectacular way possible. Sage. Dimitri's voice pulled me back. What? Debt. Behind him, Kieran moved forward, and I saw the same question in his eyes mixed with something else. Fear. Not for himself, but for me. The messenger cleared his throat. The Blackthorn Alpha says if you proceed with this claiming, Alpha King, they will consider it an act of war. Dimitri smiled then, and it was the most terrifying thing I'd ever seen. Let them come, he said, and pulled me closer. My mate goes nowhere. Wanting to see what would happen next, subscribe to this channel to get to listen to more of our upcoming exciting stories. Click on the subscribe button now. Thank you. Chapter 2. The Obsidian Palace lived up to its name. Black stone towers clawed at the sky like talons, their surfaces so polished they reflected the moonlight in sharp, cold angles. I'd seen it from a distance my whole life, a dark silhouette on the mountain that overlooked all the pack territories. Up close, it was massive, a fortress built to intimidate, to remind every wolf who approached that the Alpha King's power was absolute. The car ride from the claiming ceremony had taken 2 hours. I'd sat in silence beside Dimitri while Kieran followed in a separate vehicle, and the weight of what had happened pressed down on me until I could barely breathe. My hand was bandaged now, the cut cleaned and wrapped by the palace healer who'd met us at the gates. She'd taken one look at me and paled, then whispered something to Dimitri that made his jaw tighten. Now I stood in a bedroom that was bigger than my family's entire house. Everything was luxury. A 4-poster bed with silk sheets in deep emerald. Windows that stretched from floor to ceiling, showing the territory spread out below like a kingdom in a fairy tale. Thick carpets that muffled every sound. A bathroom with a tub carved from marble that could fit 5 people. The closet held clothes I hadn't brought, already in my size, designer labels I'd only seen in magazines. A cage made of gold and velvet, but a cage nonetheless. "You'll stay here," Dmitri had said when he'd brought me to the room. "The bonding ceremony will take place in 3 days. Until then, you don't leave these chambers without my permission. I'm a prisoner." I'd found my voice finally, anger burning through the shock. "You're my mate." He'd corrected me like there was a difference. "And until I understand what's happening, you stay where I can protect you." Protect me from what? His eyes had flickered to the door, then back to me. "From wolves who will see you as a threat. From the blackthorns. From yourself, if necessary." He'd stepped closer, and I'd forced myself not to back away. "You've been hiding something your entire life, Sage. Those suppressants weren't just masking your scent. They were suppressing something else. Something I need to understand before I let you anywhere near the court." Then he'd left, and I'd heard the lock turn from the outside. That was 6 hours ago. I'd tried the door. All the doors. The windows were sealed, probably spelled by a witch. I could feel the magic humming against the glass when I touched it. I'd searched every drawer, every cabinet, looking for anything that might tell me what Dmitri knew, what he was planning. Nothing. Just expensive clothes and toiletries and a life that didn't belong to me. I was standing at the window, watching the sun set over the territories, when I heard it. A soft scraping sound, like stone sliding against stone. I turned, my heart hammering, and watched as a section of the wall beside the fireplace swung inward. Kieran stepped through the hidden passage. He looked rough, his usually neat hair disheveled, his shirt untucked, shadows under his eyes that hadn't been there that morning. He closed the passage carefully behind him, then leaned against it like he needed the support. "You shouldn't be here," I said, even as relief flooded through me. Someone who didn't look at me like I was a puzzle to solve or a weapon to wield. "No, I shouldn't." He crossed the room in 3 strides and pulled me into his arms. I let myself have it for just a moment, the warmth, the familiarity, the feeling of being held by someone who'd seen me as a person before they'd seen me as an Omega. Then I pulled back. "Kieran, if he finds you here. The passage is warded. He can't sense me through it." Kieran's hands cupped my face, his thumbs brushing my cheekbones. "Sage, we need to talk. There are things you don't know, things I should have told you before, but I thought," he closed his eyes. "I thought we'd have more time." "Time for what?" "To get you out." His eyes opened, and they were fierce. "I've been protecting you from afar for years. Since you were 17 and came to your first pack gathering, and I caught your scent even through the suppressants. I knew then what you were, what it would mean if anyone else figured it out." My blood went cold. "What I am?" "Kieran, I'm just an Omega." "No." He shook his head, urgent. "You're not. You're a phantom Omega, Sage. It's a genetic condition so rare most wolves think it's a myth. There's maybe one born every few hundred years." His hands dropped to my shoulders, gripping tight. Phantom Omegas can bear heirs with abilities that don't follow normal wolf genetics. Alphas who can control minds. Wolves who can manipulate elements. Children who could unite the packs under one bloodline or tear the entire werewolf world apart. I stepped back, shaking my head. "That's impossible. I don't have any abilities. I'm weak, You're dormant." Kieran followed me. "The suppressants have been keeping your true nature locked down. But now that the mate bond is activated, now that Dmitri has claimed you, your body is going to start changing. Fast." He pulled something from his pocket, a small vial filled with silver liquid. "This will break the mate bond. You drink it, you reject Dmitri publicly, and the bond snaps. You'll be free." I stared at the vial. Freedom. Everything I'd wanted since the knife had sliced my palm open. What happens to my family? I asked quietly. The Blackthorns. I have a plan. Kieran's voice was desperate now. We can get them out, hide them in neutral territory. It won't be easy, but it's possible. Sage, you have to do this. You don't understand what my brother is planning. Then tell me. He knows what you are. The palace healer confirmed it when she examined you. Dimitri has been searching for a Phantom Omega for years, ever since the vampire coven started pushing into our territories. Kieran's jaw clenched. He wants to use your child as a weapon. Breed an heir powerful enough to destroy the vampire lords, no matter what it costs you. He doesn't care about the mate bond. He cares about power. The words hit me like physical blows. I wanted to say Kieran was lying, that no one could be that cold, but I'd seen the calculation in Dimitri's eyes. The way he'd looked at me like I was a problem to solve. The last Phantom Omega, I whispered. What happened to them? Kieran's expression went dark. She was claimed by an alpha from the Northern Packs 200 years ago. He tried to use her children to conquer the entire werewolf world. The Luna Council, the most powerful female wolves from every major pack, hunted her down and killed her. Killed her children too. Started a war that lasted 30 years and left thousands dead. He pressed the vial into my hand. They still exist, Sage. The Luna Council. And they've already sent word to my brother that they want you eliminated before you can breed. My legs gave out. I sat down hard on the bed, the vial clutched in my shaking hand. Dimitri refused them, Kieran continued. Told them to try touching you and he'd declare war on every pack whose Luna signed the order. But that's not protection, Sage. That's possession. He's not keeping you safe, he's keeping you his. I looked up at him. At this man I'd laughed with in secret gardens, who'd made me feel like maybe I could be more than my pack's invisible Omega. Who was offering me a way out. If I reject the bond, I said slowly, what happens to you? You've been sneaking around, helping me. Dimitri will know you were involved. I can handle my brother. Can you? I stood, anger replacing the fear. Or will he kill you for betraying him? Because I'm not stupid, Kieran. I know what happens to wolves who cross the Alpha King. It doesn't matter. Kieran grabbed my arms. What matters is getting you out before. He froze. His nostrils flared, and his eyes went wide. No, he breathed. Not yet. It's too soon. But I felt it. Starting low in my belly, a heat that spread through my veins like wildfire. My skin flushed. My breathing quickened. And my scent, the scent I'd kept suppressed for 22 years, flooded the room, sweet and desperate and unmistakably Omega. My heat cycle. A week early at least, triggered by the stress and the mate bond and the Phantom Omega genetics waking up inside me. You need to go. My voice came out hoarse. Kieran, if Dimitri smells this. He already has. Dimitri's voice came from the doorway, cold as winter ice. I spun. He stood there, still dressed in the formal clothes from the ceremony, but his eyes were pure black now. No amber left at all. The alpha in him had risen to the surface, called by his mate's heat, and the possessiveness rolling off him made my Omega wolf whimper and bare her throat. Brother. Kieran moved to stand between us. She needs time. The heat is too early, she's not ready. Move. Dimitri, listen to me. Move, or I will move you. Dimitri's power filled the room, pressing down on all of us. I can smell your fear for her. I can see the vial in her hand. Did you really think I wouldn't know about the passage? That I wouldn't have it watched? Kieran's face went pale. You knew I was here? From the moment you opened the door. Dimitri stepped into the room, and Kieran had no choice but to step aside or challenge his alpha directly. I wanted to hear what you'd say. What poison you'd try to feed her about me. It's not poison if it's true. Kieran's voice shook with barely controlled rage. You're going to use her. Use their child. I'm going to protect our people. Dimitri's eyes never left mine. The vampires are coming, Kieran. Not in years, in months. Maybe weeks. They've been building their armies while we've been too busy fighting among ourselves to notice. And when they come, they won't stop until every werewolf territory is ash. He took another step toward me. Yes, I've been searching for a Phantom Omega. Yes, I know what Sage can give me. But I'm not the monster you think I am. Aren't you? I found my voice, even as my body screamed at me to go to him, to finish what the bond had started. You locked me in here. You're planning to use my children as weapons. The Luna Council wants me dead, and you're keeping me alive because I'm useful. I'm keeping you alive because you're my mate. Dimitri stopped an arm's length away. Close enough that I could feel the heat radiating off him, smell the cedar and snow scent that made my hindbrain light up with want. And because you deserve better than what the world has planned for you. Better? I laughed, brittle and sharp. I'm in a cage. You're in the safest room in the entire palace. The Luna Council has assassins in my court, Sage. 3 of them. I've been hunting them since the moment I made my claim, but they're good at hiding. Until I find them, you stay here. His jaw clenched. And yes, I know what you can give me. I know that a child born from our bond could have abilities that change everything. But I also know that the last Phantom Omega was treated like livestock, bred and broken until she had nothing left. That's not what I want. Then what do you want? Time. Dimitri's hand came up slowly, giving me the chance to pull away. When I didn't, he touched my cheek, and the contact sent electricity through my entire body. Time for you to understand what you are. Time for me to make the palace secure. Time for us to figure out if this bond is just biology or if it could be something more. My heat pulsed stronger, and I bit back a whimper. I don't have time. I know what you need. His thumb brushed my lower lip, and my knees went weak. I can smell it. Feel it through the bond. But I'm not going to take you like this, when you're afraid of me. When you're not making a choice, you're being forced by your biology. I stared at him. At this Alpha King who'd claimed me in front of hundreds, who'd locked me in a tower, who wanted to use my children to fight a war. Who was now telling me no when every instinct in his body must be screaming at him to complete the bond. You're saying I have a choice? I asked. You've always had a choice. Dimitri stepped back, putting distance between us, and I could see the effort it cost him. His hands were shaking. The vial Kieran gave you, it would work. Break the bond, reject me, and you're free. The Blackthorns would still come for your family, and the Luna Council would hunt you the moment you left my protection, but you'd have a chance. A slim one, but a chance. Or you complete the bond with me. Become my queen. Let me protect you and your family while we figure out how to survive what's coming. His eyes met mine, and for the first time, I saw something other than calculation in them. Uncertainty. Fear. I'm not asking you to love me, Sage. I'm not even asking you to trust me yet. I'm asking you to give me a chance to prove I'm more than the stories you've heard. Behind me, Kieran made a sound of protest. Sage, don't listen to him. He'll say anything. No. I cut him off, still looking at Dimitri. He's telling the truth. I can feel it through the bond. I could feel everything through the bond now, his desire, his determination, his genuine belief that he was doing the right thing. It didn't make him right. But it made him real. The heat pulsed again, stronger this time, and I gasped. I had minutes, maybe less. My body was going to make the choice for me if I didn't decide now. I looked at the vial in my hand. Freedom and danger. A life on the run, my family hunted, always looking over my shoulder. Then I looked at Dimitri. A cage made of obsidian and silk. Protection and possession. A mate who saw me as a weapon but who'd just given me the choice to walk away. And underneath it all, the truth I didn't want to face, the bond wasn't just biology. When he touched me, when he looked at me like I was the only person in the room, I felt something I'd never felt with Kieran. I felt chosen. Not because of secret meetings in gardens or stolen moments. But because when Dimitri's eyes had turned black at the ceremony, when my blood had hit the stone, he'd looked at me like I was his and he was mine and nothing else mattered. Sage. Kieran's voice was desperate. Please. Don't do this. I turned to him. To the man I'd thought I loved, the man who'd protected me from the shadows and made me feel seen. Thank you, I said quietly. For everything you did. For trying to save me. I held out the vial. But I'm not who you think I am. I've been hiding my whole life, and I'm tired of being invisible. You'll regret this. Kieran didn't take the vial. He'll break you, Sage. It's what he does. Maybe. I set the vial on the dresser. Or maybe I'll surprise you both. I turned back to Dimitri. The Alpha King. My mate. And I took a step toward him, then another, until I was close enough to touch. I'm not doing this because of the heat, I said. I'm doing this because I'm choosing to. Do you understand the difference? Yes. His voice was rough, barely controlled. Sage, if you complete the bond, there's no going back. The Luna Council will see it as a declaration. The vampires will move faster. Everything will change. Everything already changed when you claimed me. I reached up and touched his face, and he closed his eyes like I'd burned him. Show me I didn't make a mistake. The last of his control shattered. Dimitri pulled me against him, his mouth crashing down on mine, and the world exploded into sensation. The bond snapped fully into place, gold threads weaving between us until I couldn't tell where I ended and he began. The heat consumed me, consumed us both, and I stopped thinking. I stopped being afraid. I just let myself fall. Behind us, I heard Kieran leave through the hidden passage. Heard his footsteps echo in the secret corridors, walking away from what we might have been. But I didn't look back. I was too busy choosing my future. Even if that future was a gilded cage in an obsidian palace with an alpha king who wanted to use my children to fight a war. At least it was my choice. At least I was finally, terribly, beautifully visible. Wanting to see what would happen next, subscribe to this channel to get to listen to more of our upcoming exciting stories. Click on the subscribe button now. Thank you. Chapter 3. The state dinner was a spectacle of power and pretense. Crystal chandeliers threw prisms of light across the obsidian ballroom. Tables stretched in perfect rows, laden with silver and china and more food than I'd seen in my entire life. Wolves from every major pack filled the chairs, alphas in formal suits, their mates dripping in jewels, all of them watching me with expressions that ranged from curiosity to barely concealed hostility. I wore emerald silk that matched my eyes, a dress that had appeared in my closet that morning along with a note in Dimitri's sharp handwriting, wear this. Stay close to me. Trust no one. Now I sat at the head table, Dimitri on my right, and tried not to feel like prey surrounded by predators. 3 days had passed since I'd completed the bond. 3 days of learning how to be a queen when I barely knew how to be visible. The palace staff bowed when I walked by. Guards stood outside my door, protection or prison, I still wasn't sure. And Dimitri. Dimitri was an enigma wrapped in control. He touched me constantly, a hand at the small of my back, fingers brushing my wrist, casual possessiveness that made every wolf in the room understand I was claimed. But when we were alone, he kept his distance. Slept in a separate chamber connected to mine. Talked to me about pack politics and vampire movements and the 100 ways the court might try to manipulate me, but never about us. The bond thrummed between us, gold and constant, but there was something he wasn't telling me. Something that made him watch me like he was waiting for an axe to fall. You're not eating. His voice was low, meant only for me. I looked down at my untouched plate. I'm not hungry. You need to eat. His hand covered mine on the table. You've lost weight. I can feel it through the bond. Maybe I'm stressed. I met his eyes. Considering the Luna Council wants me dead and we're sitting in a room full of potential assassins. I have guards positioned throughout the room. The food has been tested. The guests were screened. But his jaw was tight. You're safe. Am I? I leaned closer, dropping my voice. Because you've been acting like I'm about to shatter for 3 days, and you still haven't told me why. Dimitri's eyes flickered. After the dinner. I'll explain everything. You said that yesterday. And I meant it yesterday. Tonight, I mean it more. His thumb traced circles on my palm. Sage, there are things you need to know. About the prophecy. About why I really claimed you. But not here. Not where. He froze. His nostrils flared. His eyes went from amber to black in a heartbeat, and the hand covering mine became a vice grip. Dimitri? Fear spiked through me. What's wrong? Wolfsbane. He stood abruptly, pulling me up with him. In the air. Everyone get. The windows exploded inward. Glass rained down like deadly snow. Wolves screamed. And through the shattered windows came figures in black, moving with inhuman speed, blades glinting in the chandelier light. Assassins. 6 of them. No, 8. They spread through the room like shadows, and I saw the Luna Council's mark on their necks, burned into their skin in silver. Official executioners, sent to finish what the council had ordered. They were all looking at me. Dimitri moved before I could scream. He threw me behind him, his body a shield, and when the first assassin lunged, Dimitri met him midair. The sound of bones breaking echoed through the ballroom. Blood sprayed. The assassin's head hit the floor and rolled, his body following a second later. The monster beneath the Alpha King's controlled exterior had been unleashed. Dimitri didn't fight like a man. He fought like a force of nature, brutal, efficient, savage. His claws extended, longer than any I'd seen, black as his eyes. He tore through the assassins with precision that spoke of centuries of violence, and when one got past him and came for me, Dimitri caught him by the throat and ripped it out with his bare hand. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. I'd known what Dimitri was, everyone knew the stories, but seeing it was different. This wasn't the controlled alpha who'd given me a choice. This was the creature who'd unified the packs through terror, who'd killed anyone who stood against him, who wore his brutality like armor. And he was doing it to protect me. Behind the table. Dimitri roared at me, not looking away from the assassins circling him. Now. I dove for cover as another window exploded. More assassins poured in. Too many. Even with Dimitri's guards joining the fight, we were outnumbered. These weren't random killers, they were trained, coordinated, and they all had the same target. One broke through the line. Came straight for me, blade raised, and I had nowhere to go. I closed my eyes. The killing blow never came. I opened my eyes to see Kieran standing over me, his own claws bloody, the assassin's body at his feet. Are you hurt? He pulled me up, his eyes scanning me for injuries. No, Kieran, what are you doing here? Saving your life. He pushed me toward the servants' exit. Go. Get to your chambers. The passage I showed you, use it to get to the eastern tower. There's a car waiting. I can't just leave. Sage, go. He shoved me hard, and I stumbled toward the door just as another assassin appeared. Kieran intercepted him, and they went down in a tangle of claws and rage. I ran. Through corridors filled with screaming guests. Past guards rushing toward the ballroom. My heels caught on the carpet and I kicked them off, running barefoot, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might burst. I made it to my chambers and slammed the door behind me. My hands shook as I tried to work the mechanism for the hidden passage, but I couldn't remember. Was it the third brick or the fourth? Looking for this? I spun. A woman stood in the shadows near my bed. Older, maybe 50, with silver streaking her dark hair and eyes that held nothing but cold calculation. She wore the formal robes of the Luna Council, red silk embroidered with pack symbols. Lady Morgana. I recognized her from the portraits in the hallway. Luna of the Western Pack. One of the most powerful voices on the council. Little Phantom Omega. She stepped into the light, and I saw the blade in her hand. Silver. Spelled, from the way it glowed with unnatural light. You should have taken the younger brother's offer and run. The council sent you to kill me yourself? My back hit the door. Nowhere to go. The council sent incompetence. Morgana moved closer, predator slow. I came to finish the job. Nothing personal, child. But your very existence is a threat to every pack in this territory. The last Phantom Omega started a war. We can't afford another. I don't want war. I don't want any of this. What you want doesn't matter. She raised the blade. History will remember you as a tragedy. But you won't suffer long. The door behind me exploded off its hinges. Dimitri stood in the doorway, covered in blood that wasn't his eyes pure black, power rolling off him in waves that made the windows crack. Step away from my mate. His voice was barely human. Now. Morgana smiled. Or what, Alpha King? You'll start a war with the Western Pack? With every pack whose Luna signed the execution order? She pressed the blade against my throat, and I felt it burn. Silver and spellwork, designed to cut through anything. She dies tonight. You can accept it peacefully, or you can watch me do it slowly. You have 3 seconds. Dimitri's claws extended. Choose. I choose revolution. Morgana yanked me against her, the blade biting into my skin. The old ways are dying, Dimitri. Alphas like you, ruling through fear, your time is over. The Phantom Omega could have been a symbol of change, but you ruined that when you claimed her for your own power games. So she becomes a martyr instead. 2 seconds. I'm not afraid of you. You should be. Dimitri moved. He was across the room before Morgana could react. His hand closed around her wrist, and the sound of bones shattering echoed through the chamber. Morgana screamed. The blade clattered to the floor. Dimitri pulled her away from me and slammed her against the wall hard enough to crack the obsidian. You come into my palace, he snarled, his face inches from hers. You try to kill my mate. You talk about revolution like it's noble instead of treason. His claws pressed against her throat. You die now, and your pack answers for it. Or you live, go back to the council, and tell them if they send anyone else, I will burn every Luna Hall from here to the northern border. Morgana laughed through her pain. You can't kill me. I'm council. I have immunity. Dimitri's claws tightened. Blood ran down Morgana's neck. There is no law above the Alpha King. No immunity I can't revoke. No protection I can't strip away. He leaned closer. Tell them. They'll never stop. Morgana's eyes found mine. That child growing inside you, they'll hunt it until there's nothing left. You think you're safe here? You're just prolonging the inevitable. Dimitri went very, very still. His eyes snapped to me, and I saw the moment he scented it. The subtle change in my chemistry. The thing I'd been trying to ignore for the past 3 days, the nausea and exhaustion I'd blamed on stress. I was pregnant. Get out. Dimitri's voice was hollow. He released Morgana, who collapsed to the floor clutching her broken wrist. Guards. 2 guards appeared in the doorway. My lord? Escort Lady Morgana to the border. Tell the Western Pack she's no longer welcome in my territory. If she returns, she dies. He didn't look away from me. Go. All of you. Now. They dragged Morgana out. Her laughter echoed down the corridor, sharp and knowing. Then we were alone. Dimitri stood across the room, still covered in blood, still half monster, and I could feel his rage through the bond. Not hot, cold. The kind of anger that destroyed kingdoms. How long have you known? His voice was soft. Deadly. 3 days. Maybe 4. I wasn't sure. Don't lie to me. He stalked toward me, and I'd never been more afraid of him. I can smell it now. Smell him. The father. His hand shot out and gripped my chin, forcing me to meet his eyes. When did it happen, Sage? When did you fuck someone else? I don't know. The words burst out of me. I don't remember. There was a pack gathering 6 weeks ago, before the claiming ceremony. I had too much to drink, and I woke up in a guest room with gaps in my memory. I thought I'd just passed out, but someone took advantage. Dimitri's grip gentled slightly. Someone knew what you were. Knew you'd be at the claiming. Knew that if you conceived before the ceremony, the child would be Phantom Omega but not bonded to me. The pieces clicked into place. It was planned. Someone drugged me. Used me. And now you're carrying a child that isn't mine. Dimitri released me and turned away. A Phantom Omega child with unknown genetics. Unknown loyalties. The rage poured out of him like a physical thing. The windows shattered outward. The furniture splintered. Power unchecked and uncontrolled, and I felt the palace wing groan under the pressure. Dimitri, stop. I grabbed his arm. You're going to bring the whole wing down. Good. His voice was broken. Let it fall. Let it all fall. He rounded on me, and I saw anguish behind the rage. Do you understand what you've done? I claimed you because of a prophecy, Sage. Because a seer told me that if I didn't find a Phantom Omega and produce an heir within the year, I would destroy my own kingdom. That the monster inside me would break free and turn everything I've built to ash. I stepped back. You were using me. Just like Kieran said. Yes. He laughed, bitter and sharp. I was using you. I needed a child with abilities strong enough to stop me when the time came. A weapon against myself. But I was also going to protect you. Give you a life. Make sure our child knew they were more than a tool. His claws retracted, hands becoming human again. Now you're carrying someone else's child. A child I can't claim. Can't protect under pack law. Can't use to prevent the prophecy. There's more. The voice came from the hidden passage. Kieran emerged, covered in blood from the fight, his expression grim. Tell her the rest, brother. Get out. Dimitri's voice was ice. Tell her, or I will. Kieran moved into the room, standing between us. Tell her what Phantom Omegas can really do. Dimitri's jaw clenched. Sage. You asked why I've been distant since we completed the bond. Why I've been watching you like you're about to break. He met my eyes. Phantom Omegas can choose which alpha's essence their body accepts. The bond doesn't matter. You could sleep with 100 alphas, and your body would only conceive from the one you truly chose. The world tilted. What are you saying? I'm saying somewhere in your subconscious, you wanted that child. Dimitri's voice was hollow. Maybe you don't remember the night. Maybe you were drugged. But on some level, you chose to conceive with whoever it was. Your body accepted him over me. That's not, I would never. The science doesn't lie. Kieran's voice was gentle. I'm sorry, Sage. But Dimitri's right. Phantom Omegas only conceive when they choose to, even if they don't realize they're choosing. I pressed my hands to my stomach. A child. Growing inside me. A child I didn't remember conceiving, with a father I couldn't remember, but that I'd somehow chosen. Who? I looked at Dimitri. Who's the father? I don't know. His control was fracturing again. But I'll find out. And when I do. You'll what? I stepped toward him. Kill him? Kill me? Destroy the palace? What's the plan, Alpha King? I don't have one. The admission seemed to cost him. For the first time in my life, I don't know what to do. My phone buzzed. I pulled it from my dress pocket with shaking hands. A message from my mother. They have your father. They have Lily. 3 months to produce an heir, or they kill them both. The Blackthorns. I showed Dmitri the message. Watched his expression darken further. Convenient timing, Kieran said quietly. Almost like someone planned this perfectly. Get Sage pregnant before the ceremony. Wait until the bond is complete. Put pressure on her family. Force her hand. You think someone orchestrated all of this? I looked between them. Why? What's the endgame? War. Dimitri's eyes met mine. Someone wants war between the packs. And they're using you, using us, to start it. There's something else you need to know. Kieran pulled out his phone. I was going to wait, but there's no point now. Sage, I've been working with the rebellion. The group that wants to overthrow Dmitri and restructure pack hierarchy. I've been feeding them information, helping them coordinate. He met his brother's eyes. I'm sorry. I truly am. But I believe you're leading us to destruction, and I couldn't stand by and watch. Dmitri didn't react. Didn't explode. Just nodded slowly. I know. Kieran blinked. What? I've known for 6 months. Did you really think I wouldn't notice? That I don't have eyes in every rebellion cell? Dmitri moved to the window, looking out at the territories below. I let you do it because I wanted to see how far you'd go. How much you'd betray me. Turns out, all the way. Then why not stop me? Because you might be right. Dimitri's voice was tired. Maybe I am leading us to destruction. Maybe the prophecy is inevitable. Maybe everyone would be better off if you succeeded in overthrowing me. He turned back to us. But first, we deal with this. Sage's family. The Blackthorns. The pregnancy. The assassins. All of it. How? I demanded. How do we deal with any of this when we don't even know who the father is? We find out. Dimitri's eyes held mine. I have resources. Magic. Seers who can look into the past. We'll figure out what happened that night. And then? Then you choose. He crossed to me, taking my hands. You choose whether to keep the child. Whether to stay with me. Whether to trust me to protect you even though the child isn't mine. Because Sage, despite everything, despite the prophecy and the political games and the fact that you're carrying another man's baby, you're still my mate. I can still feel you through the bond. And I still want to keep you safe. Even though I'm useless to you now. The words came out bitter. Even though I can't stop your prophecy. You were never just useful. His thumb brushed my knuckles. If that's all I wanted, I would have found any Phantom Omega. But when your blood hit that stone, when the bond snapped into place, he stopped, looking almost vulnerable. I felt something I haven't felt in decades. Hope. Behind us, Kieran made a sound of disgust. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You manipulate everyone, even yourself. You don't love her, Dmitri. You love what she represents. And you do? Dimitri's eyes cut to his brother. You, who's been lying to her from the start. Who used her feelings for you to try to get her to reject the bond. Don't pretend you're any better than me. At least I'm honest about my flaws. Are you? Dmitri released my hands. Tell her, then. Tell Sage why you really want to overthrow me. Kieran's expression shuddered. That's not relevant. Tell her how our father died. How you blamed me. How you've spent 10 years trying to destroy everything I built because you think I'm a monster. Dimitri's voice was cold. Tell her the truth, little brother. Or I will. The tension in the room was suffocating. I looked between them, these two brothers, both claiming to want to protect me, both hiding their own agendas. Someone tell me what's going on. I wrapped my arms around myself. Right now. No more secrets. No more games. I'm pregnant with a child I don't remember conceiving, my family is being tortured, assassins are trying to kill me, and apparently I'm at the center of some prophecy that ends with the Alpha King destroying his kingdom. So start talking. Dimitri and Kieran exchanged a long look. Then Dimitri sighed. Our father didn't die in a challenge like the official story says. His voice was flat, emotionless. I killed him. Ripped his throat out in front of the entire court because he was selling our people to the vampires. Trading wolves as blood slaves to buy himself more time as Alpha. I went cold. You killed your own father. Yes. No apology. No justification. And Kieran never forgave me. He thinks I wanted the power. That I used our father's crimes as an excuse. That I'm just as much a monster as the man I killed. Because you are. Kieran's voice shook. You didn't have to kill him. You could have exiled him. Stripped his power. But you wanted him dead. Wanted the throne. And you've been proving me right every day since, with every brutal decision, every ruthless move. Enough. I held up my hand. Both of you. Just, enough. I pressed my fingers to my temples, trying to process everything. I need time. I need to think. You don't have time. Dimitri's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen, and his expression went dark. The Blackthorns just sent proof. Your sister's finger. They're not bluffing, Sage. 3 months to produce an heir, or your family dies piece by piece. I looked down at my stomach. At the child growing there, conceived in circumstances I couldn't remember, with a father I couldn't name. A phantom Omega child with unknown abilities. Unknown loyalties. The center of a conspiracy I didn't understand. And my only way to save my family. Then we have work to do, I said quietly. Find out who the father is. Stop the assassins. Save my family. Prevent your prophecy. I looked at Dimitri, then Kieran. And figure out which one of you I can actually trust. Because in that moment, standing in a destroyed chamber in an obsidian palace, surrounded by secrets and lies and blood, I realized the truth. I was alone. And I was going to have to save myself. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 4. The war room was exactly what it sounded like, a chamber carved from black stone with maps covering every wall, marked with territories and battle lines and threat assessments. Dimitri had brought me here at dawn, along with his most trusted advisors. Kieran was notably absent. We have 3 problems. Dimitri stood at the head of the table, his finger tracing the map. The Blackthorns have your family and want an heir in 3 months. The Luna Council wants you dead and won't stop sending assassins. And the vampires are moving on our borders faster than predicted. He looked up at me. We can't solve all 3. We have to choose. Then we choose my family. The words came out stronger than I felt. Everything else is secondary. Your family dies either way if we don't handle the vampire threat. One of the advisors, Marcus, Dimitri's head of security, leaned forward. The Blackthorn territory is on the southern border. The vampires will hit there first. If we don't fortify. We fortify. I cut him off. And we give the Blackthorns what they want. Silence fell across the room. Sage. Dimitri's voice was careful. You're already pregnant. You can't produce an heir in 3 months when you're carrying another alpha's child. Yes, I can. I stood, meeting his eyes across the table. I complete the mate bond with you. Fully. No more separate chambers. No more distance. We bond, and I conceive your child. Phantom Omegas can carry multiple pregnancies simultaneously. It's rare, but it's possible. I pressed my hand to my stomach. This child stays safe. But I give you an heir too. The Blackthorns get their proof, the prophecy gets its weapon, and my family lives. The advisors exchanged looks. Marcus cleared his throat. That's unprecedented. The strain on an Omega's body carrying 2 Phantom Omega children at once. I don't care about the strain. I kept my eyes on Dimitri. I care about keeping everyone I love alive. This is the only way. It's not the only way. Dimitri moved around the table toward me. It's the most dangerous way. For you. For both children. Sage, if you die trying to carry 2 pregnancies, then you'll have at least 1 heir. I lifted my chin. That's more than you have now. That's enough to stop your prophecy, isn't it? His jaw clenched. I won't sacrifice you. It's not your choice. I stepped closer to him, feeling the bond pulse between us. I'm making you a bargain, Alpha King. My body, my life, my complete submission to this mate bond, in exchange for 3 things. 1, you protect my family from the Blackthorns. 2, you protect this child I'm already carrying, no matter who the father is. 3, when your heir is born, you let me choose what happens next. If I want to leave, you let me go. Absolutely not. The refusal was instant, visceral. You're not leaving. You're my mate. Then prove it. I grabbed his hand, placing it over my heart. Prove you want me as more than a broodmare. Prove this bond is real and not just biology and politics. Give me my agency, Dimitri. Let me choose to stay instead of being forced. The advisors had gone very quiet. I could feel their eyes on us, could sense their discomfort at witnessing this private moment in such a public space. Dimitri stared at me for a long moment. Then he turned to the advisors. Out. All of you. My lord, we need to finalize the defense strategy. Now. They scattered. Marcus was the last to leave, closing the door behind him with a soft click. Then we were alone. You're asking me to risk everything. Dimitri's voice was low, dangerous. You want me to bond fully with you, knowing you might leave. Knowing I might lose you after everything. Yes. I didn't flinch. Because that's what love is, isn't it? Risk. Choice. Not ownership. I never said I loved you. I know. The admission hurt more than it should. But you want to. I can feel it through the bond. You're fighting it because you're afraid I'll break your heart the way everyone else has. Afraid you'll become your father. Afraid the prophecy is right and you'll destroy everything. I moved closer, until we were almost touching. So let me be afraid too. Let me risk just as much. And maybe, if we're both terrified and both choosing this anyway, it means something. His hand came up to cup my face, thumb brushing my cheekbone. You don't know what you're asking for. The full bond, it's not just physical. I'll feel everything you feel. Know your every thought. And you'll feel me. The monster. The violence. The parts of me I've spent decades trying to control. Good. I leaned into his touch. Let me see all of it. No more secrets. Sage, he stopped. Something shifted in his expression. The night you conceived. 6 weeks ago, at the pack gathering. You said you don't remember. I don't. I was drugged, someone used me. It was me. The world stopped. What? I stepped back, but he held on. It was me, Dmitri repeated, his voice rough. I'd been courting you for months, Sage. Sending letters. Gifts. Trying to get your attention without revealing who I was because I knew you'd panic if you thought the Alpha King was interested. But every letter came back unopened. Every gift was refused. I thought you weren't interested. That you'd found someone else. My mind spun. I never got letters. Never got gifts. I know that now. His eyes darkened. Someone was intercepting them. And that night, at the gathering, I saw you alone in the garden. You were upset, crying. You'd had too much wine and you were talking about how invisible you felt. How no one saw you as anything but a weak Omega. His grip tightened. I revealed myself. Told you I'd been writing to you. You didn't believe me at first, but then. Then what? My voice cracked. Then you kissed me. He pulled me closer. You said you'd wanted to for months. That you'd noticed me noticing you. We went to the guest room and I asked if you were sure, asked 3 times, and you said yes every time. You weren't drugged, Sage. You were drunk, yes, but you chose me. Your body chose me. Tears burned my eyes. But I don't remember. Why don't I remember? Because someone spelled you. His jaw clenched. After. Someone gave you a forgetting potion, made you think you'd blacked out. Made you doubt yourself. He pressed his forehead to mine. The child you're carrying, Sage, it's mine. It's been mine all along. The relief was staggering. The child was his. I hadn't been used by a stranger. Hadn't been violated. But someone had still stolen my memories. Still made me doubt. Who? The word came out hard. Who did this? I think you know. Dimitri's expression was grim. And I did. The pieces fell into place with horrible clarity. The intercepted letters. The stolen memories. The push to reject the mate bond. Kieran. Yes. Dmitri released me. My brother has been playing a long game, Sage. Longer than I realized. As if summoned by his name, the door burst open. Kieran stood in the doorway, flanked by guards I didn't recognize. Guards with rebellion marks on their necks. I'm sorry it has to be this way. Kieran's voice was steady, but his eyes were tormented. I truly am. But I can't let you complete the bond. Dmitri moved in front of me, a shield. You bring rebellion guards into my war room? Into the heart of my palace? Your palace is already mine. Kieran pulled out a device, a remote. I've had months to plan this, brother. Months to position my people. Every guard loyal to you has been replaced. Every advisor bought. The rebellion isn't part of the court anymore. The rebellion is the court. My blood ran cold. How long? Since the beginning. Kieran's eyes found mine. I've been planning this since I first met you, Sage. The letters from Dmitri? I intercepted them. The gifts? Destroyed them. I kept you apart because I knew if you bonded naturally, if you fell for him before the claiming ceremony, my plan wouldn't work. What plan? But I already knew. Already saw it. I need a phantom Omega heir. Kieran's voice was matter-of-fact. Not for Dimitri's bloodline. For mine. A new beginning. A new pack structure where alphas don't rule through fear and omegas aren't property. He stepped forward. I knew Dmitri would eventually claim you at a ceremony. Knew the bond would snap into place. But I also knew Phantom Omegas can choose which alpha's essence they accept. So you tried to make me choose you first. The betrayal cut deep. The secret meetings. The garden conversations. You made me think I was falling for you. You were falling for me. Pain crossed his face. That was real, Sage. My feelings for you, those were real. But yes, I also needed you to conceive with me before Dmitri claimed you. That night at the gathering, I gave you the wine. Watched you go to the garden. I was going to approach you, but Dmitri got there first. His expression hardened. So I had to improvise. I spelled you to forget, made you think you'd blacked out, and I waited. Waited for the claiming ceremony. Waited for the bond to snap. Waited for Dmitri to reject you when he found out you were carrying another Alpha's child. But he didn't. I felt Dmitri's power rising behind me, felt the bond flare with rage. Because the child is his. Kieran's face paled. That's not possible. I watched you go into that room alone. I made sure no one followed. You made sure no one you could see followed. Dmitri's voice was deadly calm. But you didn't account for the fact that I can move through shadows. That I'd been watching Sage for months. That I got there before you could. The pieces clicked. Kieran had been so careful, so meticulous. But he'd underestimated his brother. It doesn't matter. Kieran's hand tightened on the remote. Sage is still pregnant. Still vulnerable. And I still have the entire palace under my control. He looked at me. Come with me now, willingly, and I'll spare Dmitri. We'll exile him to neutral territory. You and I will rule together, and your child, our child, will be the beginning of a new era. Except it's not your child. I stepped out from behind Dmitri. And I'm not going anywhere with you. Sage, please. Kieran's voice broke. I love you. I've loved you since that first night in the garden. This doesn't have to be violent. You don't love me. The words hurt to say. You love what I represent. Just like you accused Dmitri of doing. You're exactly like your brother, Kieran. You just hide it better. His expression shuddered. Then I'm sorry. For what comes next? He pressed the button. Explosions rocked the palace. The floor beneath us buckled. The walls cracked. And through the windows, I saw smoke rising from multiple points across the estate. What did you do? Dmitri roared. What I had to. Kieran's guards moved forward. The palace is rigged. Every major chamber, every strategic point. You have 10 minutes to evacuate before it all comes down. Or you can stay and fight me, and die in the rubble. He looked at me one last time. Last chance, Sage. Come with me, or lose everything. I felt Dmitri's power surge, felt him preparing to attack. But I also felt the bond between us, gold and strong and real. Felt the child, our child, growing inside me. Felt the future we could have if we survived this. So I made my choice. I stepped forward and took Dmitri's hand. We evacuate. We regroup. And then we take back what's ours. Dmitri looked at me, surprise flickering across his face. Then he nodded. Marcus. He shouted into the hallway. Full evacuation. Get everyone out. We ran. Through corridors filling with smoke. Past guards, some loyal, some rebellion, fighting in the halls. The palace was tearing itself apart, Kieran's bomb strategically placed to bring down the seat of the Alpha King's power. We made it to the eastern courtyard where cars were waiting. Dmitri pushed me toward one, but I resisted. The bonding. I grabbed his arm. We need to do it now. Are you insane? The palace is exploding. Exactly. I pulled him close. Kieran said we have 10 minutes. That's enough. Bond with me now, fully, and I can give you an heir. Prove to the Blackthorns we're serious. Show the rebellion they haven't won. I pressed my hand over his heart. Complete what we started. Dmitri stared at me. Then, impossibly, he smiled. You're magnificent. I'm desperate. But I smiled back. Now mark me before we both die. He didn't need more convincing. Dmitri pulled me into the shadow of the wall, away from the chaos, and his mouth found mine. The kiss was brutal and claiming and everything we'd been holding back. The bond flared between us, no longer just gold threads but blazing fire. His claws extended, and I felt them trace down my neck to my shoulder. The traditional marking spot, where every wolf would be able to see his claim. "This will hurt," he murmured against my lips. "I know." He bit down. Pain exploded through me, white-hot and all-consuming. But underneath it, the bond clicked into place with a force that stole my breath. Suddenly I felt everything, his fear for me, his rage at Kieran, his love that he'd been hiding behind walls of control. And he felt me, my determination, my terror, my fierce need to protect everyone I cared about. We were one. The bond settled, and I felt the change immediately. Felt my body accept his essence, felt the beginning of a second pregnancy take root alongside the first. 2 children. 2 futures. 2 chances at survival. Dimitri pulled back, his eyes black, my blood on his lips. Sage. The explosion that followed was deafening. The palace wing closest to us collapsed. Stone and fire rained down. Dimitri threw himself over me as debris fell, his body a shield, and I felt his pain through the bond as something heavy struck his back. Then the world tilted. Through the smoke and chaos, I saw them. Figures moving with inhuman grace. Pale skin. Red eyes. Fangs. Vampires. No. Dimitri struggled to stand, blood running down his back. Not now. Not during this. It's the perfect time. A voice cut through the noise. A woman stepped out of the smoke, beautiful and terrible, with hair like midnight and eyes like fresh blood. "Your palace is destroyed. Your court is in chaos. Your brother has betrayed you. And you've just completed a mate bond, leaving you both vulnerable." She smiled. "The vampire coven send their regards, Alpha King. We've been planning this attack for months." Months. Dimitri's voice was hollow. "You had someone inside. Feeding you information." "Oh, we had several someones." The vampire's smile widened. "Including someone very close to your new queen." She stepped aside, and my world shattered. My mother stood behind her. My mother, who was supposed to be captive with the Blackthorns. My mother, who looked at me with tears streaming down her face and devastation in her eyes. "Mom?" The word came out broken. "I'm sorry." Her voice cracked. "Baby, I'm so sorry. They had Lily. They had your father. They said they'd torture them for days if I didn't help. So I told them everything. The palace layout. The guard rotations. When you'd be most vulnerable." She sobbed. "They promised they'd let us go if I cooperated. They lied." The vampire laughed. "Of course we lied. But your information was invaluable nonetheless." She turned to me. "Now, little Omega. You're going to come with us. That child you're carrying, both children, they're worth more than you can imagine to the vampire covens. Phantom Omega heirs? We could breed an army." "No." Dimitri's power erupted. "You'll have to kill me first. That can be arranged." The vampire snapped her fingers, and more vampires emerged from the smoke. Dozens of them. Too many. We were surrounded. I looked at Dimitri, feeling his determination through the bond. Looked at my mother, broken and guilty. Looked down at my stomach, where 2 children, 2 futures, were just beginning. And I made a choice. "Dimitri." I gripped his hand. "Can you get my mother out?" "What?" He stared at me. "Sage, I'm not leaving you. You have to." I pushed him toward where Marcus was coordinating the evacuation. "Get her out. Get everyone out. I'll buy you time." "Absolutely not. You're pregnant, you're vulnerable. I'm also the only thing they want." I felt the power rising inside me, the phantom Omega genetics waking fully for the first time. Felt both children respond to the danger, felt abilities I didn't know I had sparking to life. Trust me. Please. The vampire queen laughed. How touching. The Omega thinks she can fight us. I turned to face her. I don't need to fight you. I just need to slow you down. Then I let the power out. It exploded from me like a shockwave, raw, untamed, instinctive. The vampires closest to me flew backward. The ground cracked beneath my feet. And I felt both children inside me, their abilities merging with mine, creating something no one had ever seen before. A phantom Omega fully awakened. Carrying 2 phantom Omega children. Bonded to the Alpha King. I was a weapon. And I was done being afraid. Run. I screamed at Dimitri, at Marcus, at everyone still alive. I'll hold them. Dimitri hesitated for only a moment. Then he grabbed my mother and ran, pulling her toward the evacuation vehicles. The vampire queen's expression shifted from amusement to concern. What are you? I didn't let her finish. The power poured out of me in waves, each one stronger than the last. I had no idea what I was doing, no control, but I didn't need control. I needed chaos. Needed time. Needed to give everyone I loved a chance to escape. The vampires attacked. I fought back with everything I had, claws, teeth, power that came from somewhere primal and fierce. But there were too many. Always too many. I felt the first claw rake across my side. Felt blood, my blood, spill hot and fast. Felt pain explode through me as another vampire grabbed my arm and twisted, bone breaking with a sickening crack. Through the bond, I felt Dimitri's anguish. Felt him trying to turn back, to save me, but Marcus holding him. Keeping him away. Good. That was good. He had to survive. Had to protect the children if I didn't make it. Another vampire lunged. I ducked, but not fast enough. Fangs sank into my shoulder, and I screamed as venom flooded my system. Burning. Paralyzing. I fell to my knees. The vampire queen stood over me, smiling. Brave. Stupid. But brave. She grabbed my hair, yanking my head back. You'll make an excellent breeder. Once we bleed the rebellion out of you. I tried to fight. Tried to use the power again. But my body wouldn't respond. The venom had spread too far, too fast. Through the bond, I felt Dimitri's rage. Felt him break free from Marcus. Felt him running back toward me, consequences be damned. But he wouldn't make it in time. The vampire queen's fangs descended toward my throat. And then. An explosion of light. Silver and gold, blinding and pure. The vampires shrieked, falling back, covering their eyes. And through the light walked a figure I'd never expected to see again. The palace healer. The one who'd examined me after the claiming ceremony. But she looked different now, younger, more powerful, her eyes glowing with ancient magic. That's quite enough, she said calmly. Touch the Alpha King's mate again, and I'll end your entire coven. The vampire queen stared at her. You. We had a deal. Deals change. The healer, or whatever she really was, waved her hand, and the vampires flew backward like toys. The Phantom Omega is under my protection now. All of you will leave, or face consequences your covens can't afford. The vampire lords will hear about this betrayal. Let them. She smiled, cold and sharp. I've been ending vampire lords since before your great-grandmother was born. I'm not particularly concerned. The vampires retreated, melting back into the smoke, taking my mother with them. I tried to cry out, tried to stop them, but my body wouldn't cooperate. Then Dimitri was there, cradling me against his chest, his voice broken. Stay with me. Sage, stay with me. The children, I managed. Are they? They're fine. Both of them. But you're not. He looked at the healer. Fix this. Whatever it costs, fix her. The healer knelt beside us, her expression sad. The venom is extensive. I can save her life, but there will be consequences. Her Phantom Omega abilities, they'll be locked away until the children are born. She'll be vulnerable. Mortal. Do it. My voice was barely a whisper. Save the babies. That's all that matters. Sage, no. Dimitri's arms tightened around me. Do it. I repeated, and felt darkness closing in. Please. The healer's hands glowed with that silver gold light, and the last thing I felt before unconsciousness took me was Dimitri's anguish through the bond. And the knowledge that I'd saved them. All of them. Even if it cost me everything. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 5. I woke to golden light and the smell of cedar and snow. For a moment, I didn't remember. Didn't know where I was or why my body felt like it had been torn apart and stitched back together wrong. Then it all came rushing back. The vampires, the venom, my mother's betrayal, the choice to save the children at any cost. I tried to sit up and failed. My body felt heavy, wrong, like it belonged to someone else. Don't move. Dimitri's voice came from beside the bed, rough with exhaustion. You've been unconscious for 6 days. Your body is still healing. I turned my head. He sat in a chair pulled close to the bed, looking like he hadn't slept since the attack. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. His clothes were rumpled. But his hand was wrapped around mine, warm and steady, and through the bond one felt his relief crash over me like a wave. The babies? My voice came out hoarse. Fine. Both healthy. Growing strong. His thumb traced circles on my palm. You, on the other hand, terrified me. I'm sorry. Don't. He leaned forward, pressing his forehead to our joined hands. Don't apologize for saving everyone. Just don't do it again. I can't, his voice broke. I can't lose you, Sage. The bond, it's not just connection anymore. It's need. When you were dying, I felt it. Felt myself dying with you. I squeezed his hand. I'm here. I'm okay. You're more than okay. He lifted his head, and there was something like awe in his eyes. Sage, the healer said your Omega abilities would be locked away. That you'd be vulnerable until the children were born. I remember. She was wrong. Dimitri stood, helping me sit up carefully. Look. He guided me to the mirror across the room, and I stared at my reflection in shock. I looked the same dark hair, same green eyes, same too thin frame. But there was something different. My eyes glowed faintly, like embers. My skin seemed to shimmer in the light. And when I focused, I could see power moving beneath my skin like lightning, gold and fierce and nothing like the Phantom Omega abilities I'd felt before. What happened to me? I whispered. You died. The healer's voice came from the doorway. She entered, still looking like that ancient, powerful being who'd saved my life. For 3 minutes, your heart stopped. The venom should have killed you, killed both children. But something in your genetics refused to accept death. I don't understand. Phantom Omegas are rare, one every few centuries. She moved closer, her expression fascinated. But Apex Omegas? There's only been one other in recorded history. A wolf so powerful they transcended the traditional hierarchy entirely. Not Alpha, not Omega, but something beyond both. She smiled. You're becoming an apex, Sage. The injury, the venom, the stress of carrying 2 Phantom Omega children while newly bonded, it triggered a transformation that should be impossible. I looked at Dimitri. You knew? I suspected. He moved behind me, his hands settling on my shoulders. The prophecy, the one that said I'd destroy my kingdom. I'd been researching it since you went into healing. There was a word that had been mistranslated for centuries. It wasn't destroy. It was remake. His eyes met mine in the mirror. The prophecy wasn't about me at all. It was about you. The healer nodded. An Apex Omega, bonded to the Alpha King, carrying the next generation of Phantom Omega children. You're not here to preserve the old power structure, Sage. You're here to shatter it and build something new. But I don't know how to, I'm not ready. No one's ever ready for destiny. Dimitri's hands tightened on my shoulders. But you don't have to do it alone. That's what the bond means. Your strength is mine. Mine is yours. He pressed a kiss to my temple. The past 6 days, while you were healing, you were siphoning my alpha strength through the bond. Taking what you needed to survive, to transform. That's why I look like hell, you've been draining me dry. I spun to face him, horrified. I was hurting you? You were surviving. He cupped my face. And I'd give you every drop of strength I have if it meant keeping you alive. That's what mates do, Sage. We give everything. The healer cleared her throat. There's something else you should know. The transformation isn't complete. You have a choice to make. She gestured to the window, where I could see the ruins of the palace wing. Kieran is in the dungeons. He's been there since the attack, waiting for judgment. As the new Apex Omega, the decision of his fate falls to you. My stomach clenched. Why me? Because he wronged you specifically. Betrayed you. Tried to steal your agency and your children. Dimitri's voice was hard. By ancient law, you have the right to demand his execution or grant him exile. I can't make this choice for you, no one can. I looked between them. And if I choose mercy? Then he lives. Dimitri's jaw tightened. But it would be seen as weakness by some. The court is already unstable. The rebellion still has supporters. If you let Kieran go unpunished. I didn't say unpunished. I straightened, feeling the new power settle into my bones. Take me to him. The dungeons were exactly as brutal as expected, stone and iron and the smell of despair. Dimitri led me down the winding stairs, guards falling into step behind us. My body still ached, still felt wrong, but I refused to show weakness. Not now. Not when so much depended on what happened next. Kieran sat in the last cell, chains binding his wrists and ankles. He looked up when we approached, and I saw genuine remorse in his eyes. But I also saw calculation. Even now, even captured, he was planning. Sage. He stood as much as the chains allowed. I heard you survived. I'm glad. Are you? I stopped outside the cell bars. Or are you just glad you might still have a chance to use me? He flinched. I deserve that. I deserve worse. His eyes found Dimitri. I'm sorry. For everything. The betrayal, the palace, the rebellion. I thought I was doing the right thing. Thought I was saving our people from a tyrant. He looked back at me. But I was wrong. I became exactly what I was fighting against. Yes, you did. I felt Dimitri's presence behind me, solid and strong. You took my choices away. Made me doubt myself. Manipulated my feelings and my family. All for power you claimed you didn't want. I know. Kieran's voice cracked. And I'll accept whatever judgment you give. Execution, exile, torture, I won't fight it. I just want you to know that my feelings for you were real. I did love you, Sage. I still do. That's why I'm glad you chose him instead of me. You deserve better than what I could have given you. The words should have moved me. Once, they would have. But I felt nothing but pity for this wolf who'd spent so long fighting his brother that he'd lost himself in the process. I'm not going to execute you, I said quietly. Dimitri went very still behind me. Sage. But I'm not letting you go either. I stepped closer to the bars. Here's my judgment, Kiran Volkov. You will be exiled to neutral territory, stripped of your pack bonds and your family name. You'll live as a lone wolf, with no home, no allegiance, no power. I let the apex power rise, let him feel it pressing against him. But you'll also carry a mark. One that every wolf can see. One that names you as a traitor who wronged an apex omega. I lifted my hand, and power flowed from my fingertips. Gold and white, burning like starlight. The magic hit Kiran's chest, and he gasped as the mark seared into his skin, a brand that would never fade, never hide. You'll live, I continued, but you'll live with the consequences of your choices. Every wolf who sees that mark will know what you did. You'll never be trusted. Never be welcomed. Never belong anywhere. I lowered my hand. That's mercy, Kiran. Use it to become someone better. Or die alone and forgotten. The choice is yours. He stared at me, tears streaming down his face. Thank you, he whispered. I don't deserve it, but thank you. No. I turned away. You don't. Dimitri followed me out of the dungeons. We climbed the stairs in silence, and I felt his pride through the bond, warm and fierce. That was well done, he said when we reached the main level. Brutal enough to satisfy the court. Merciful enough to show strength instead of weakness. I don't feel strong. I leaned against the wall. I feel tired. Then rest. He pulled me close. Everything else can wait. But everything else couldn't wait. The Luna Council arrived that afternoon. They came in formal procession, 12 powerful female wolves representing every major pack. I recognized Lady Morgana among them, her wrist still bandaged from where Dimitri had broken it. They entered the throne room where Dimitri and I sat, him on the Alpha King's throne, me on a smaller chair beside it that had been brought in that morning. We come to negotiate, the head Luna said. She was ancient, maybe 300 years old, with silver hair and eyes that had seen centuries of pack politics. The Apex Omega has proven herself. We acknowledge her power. We will cease our assassination attempts. How generous. My voice was dry. And what do you want in return? Recognition. The ancient Luna stepped forward. The Luna Council has existed in shadow for too long. We want official positions in pack governance. We want Omega rights codified into law. We want the hierarchy restructured so that strength is measured by more than physical dominance. I looked at Dimitri. He nodded slightly, giving me permission to speak. You'll have it. I stood, and felt the apex power rise with me. The Lunas took an involuntary step back. But understand this. I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it because it's right. Omegas deserve protection. Deserve choice. Deserve to be more than property or breeding stock. I moved down the steps toward them. You wanted an apex to change the world? Fine. I will. But you'll bow to that change, or you'll be swept aside with every other wolf who can't adapt. The ancient Luna stared at me. Then, slowly, she knelt. One by one, the other Lunas followed. Even Morgana, her face twisted with reluctant respect. We bow to the apex, the ancient Luna said. Guide us toward a better future. I felt Dimitri's satisfaction through the bond. Felt his recognition that I was handling this better than he'd expected. Better than I'd expected. Rise. I gestured for them to stand. We have work to do. Starting with my family. They brought my mother to me that evening. She looked terrible, bruised, thin, her eyes hollow with guilt. The vampires had released her after the attack, sending her back as a message. She'd been held in the palace cells since then, waiting for judgment. Now she knelt in front of me in the private chambers, unable to meet my eyes. Mom. My voice cracked despite my best efforts. Why? They had Lily. She sobbed. They had your father. They showed me videos of them being tortured, and I couldn't let them suffer, Sage. I know what I did was unforgivable. I know I betrayed you, betrayed everyone. But I'm a mother. And I couldn't watch my children be destroyed. I felt Dimitri's presence behind me, silent support. Felt the bond pulse with his steady strength. Where are they now? I asked. Dad and Lily? Safe. Marcus stepped forward from where he'd been standing guard. We extracted them during the chaos. They're in the West Wing, under heavy protection. Relief crashed through me. Bring them here. Now. They arrived minutes later, my father limping but alive, my younger sister Lily pale and shaking but unharmed. They saw me and my mother and stopped, uncertain. Sage. My father's voice broke. We heard what happened. What you did. He looked at my mother. What she did. I know everything. I stood, facing my family. Mom betrayed us to the vampires. Gave them information that nearly got me killed. Nearly cost us the kingdom. I felt my mother flinch at the words. But she did it to save you. Did it because she was put in an impossible position. That's not an excuse, my mother whispered. No, it's not. I moved toward her. But it's an explanation. And I understand impossible positions better than anyone. I knelt down, taking her hands. I forgive you, Mom. Not because what you did was okay. But because I know what it's like to have your choices stolen. To be forced into a corner where every option is terrible. She stared at me, tears streaming. How can you, after everything? Because you're my mother. I squeezed her hands. And because mercy is stronger than punishment. But there are conditions. I stood, pulling her up with me. You'll stay in the palace. All of you. Under protection but also under watch. You'll work to rebuild what was damaged. Prove that you can be trusted again. It might take years. It might take decades. But I'm giving you the chance. My father stepped forward, pulling both my mother and me into his arms. Lily joined us, and we stood there as a family, broken and healing and choosing each other despite everything. Through the bond, I felt Dimitri's approval. His recognition that this was the right choice, the strong choice. The months that followed were a blur of change and construction. The palace was rebuilt, stronger than before. The Luna Council was integrated into governance. Omega rights were codified, no more forced bondings, no more treating Omegas as property. The rebellion dissolved as Kieran's supporters saw the changes taking place and realized they'd already won what they'd been fighting for. And through it all, I grew. Both with power and with child. 2 pregnancies progressing simultaneously, my body somehow managing what should be impossible. The healers monitored me constantly, amazed and terrified in equal measure. Dimitri never left my side. He governed during the day and held me at night, his strength flowing through the bond to support me when the strain became too much. We were true partners, not Alpha and Omega, but equals building something new. The vampire threat remained, but for now, they kept their distance. The healer, who I'd learned was actually an ancient witch named Selene, had put wards around the territory that would hold for years. Long enough for us to prepare. Long enough for the children to grow strong. And then, on a cold winter night 8 months after the claiming ceremony, the contractions began. The labor lasted 14 hours. Brutal and agonizing and exactly as terrible as I'd feared. But Dimitri was there, holding my hand, breathing with me, never leaving even when the healers tried to make him go. The first child came just after dawn, a boy with Dimitri's dark hair and my green eyes. He came out screaming, power already evident in the way the lights flickered when he cried. Nikolai, I whispered, and Dimitri pressed a kiss to my forehead. Perfect. The second child came an hour later, a girl, pale and quiet, with silver hair that shouldn't be possible and eyes that shifted colors like storm clouds. "Aurora," Dmitri said, his voice filled with wonder as he held her. "She's extraordinary." Both children were Phantom Omegas. Both carried the Apex gene. And as I held them, feeling their power pulse through the bond, I knew our future had just become wildly unpredictable. The healers confirmed it that afternoon. Nikolai was Dimitri's, his genetics were clear. But Aurora. The timeline doesn't match, the head healer said carefully. She was conceived before the claiming ceremony. Before you and Alpha King Dmitri officially bonded. She looked between us. But the genetic markers, they're also his. It's as if she was always meant to be his child, regardless of when she was conceived. I looked at Dmitri, confusion and hope warring in my chest. How is that possible? Phantom Omega magic. Celine appeared in the doorway, smiling. Your body chose him, Sage. Not just at the pack gathering, but before. Maybe from the first moment you ever saw him. Your genetics recognized him as your true mate and your children's true father. So Aurora became his too, retroactively, through the magic in your blood. Dmitri took my hand, his eyes suspiciously bright. Both of them. Both ours. Both ours, I confirmed. The coronation happened 2 weeks later. Not just for Dmitri to reclaim his throne, but for me to take my place beside him as something the werewolf world had never seen, an apex queen. I stood in the rebuilt throne room wearing ceremonial robes in emerald and gold, my children with the healers in the royal chambers, my mate beside me in matching black and silver. The court filled the room, alphas and lunas, pack representatives from every territory, and wolves who'd traveled from hundreds of miles away to witness history. Today, Dimitri's voice carried to every corner, we crown not just a queen, but a partner. An apex omega who has proven that strength comes in many forms. Who has remade our kingdom into something better than it was. He turned to me, holding out a crown forged from obsidian and silver. Sage Brennanvalkov, do you accept the responsibility of ruling beside me? Of protecting our people and guiding them toward a future where every wolf, alpha, beta, omega, is valued? I met his eyes. Saw the love there, the pride, the recognition that we'd both been changed by this journey. I do. My voice was steady. But only if you accept the same from me. Surprise flickered across his face. What do you mean? I pulled out a second crown, one I'd had forged in secret, made of the same materials as mine. You're asking me to be your equal. To rule beside you. But equality means I can challenge you. Question you. Stand against you if I think you're wrong. I held up the crown. Do you accept that? Do you accept an apex queen who won't just follow but will lead beside you? Who will fight you when necessary and love you always? The court went silent. This wasn't part of the ceremony. This was me rewriting it in real time. Dmitri stared at me for a long moment. Then he knelt. The entire court gasped. I accept, he said quietly. I accept an apex queen who challenges me. Who makes me better. Who proves every day that I was wrong about so many things. He looked up at me, vulnerability clear in his eyes. Crown me, Sage. Remind me that power is nothing without partnership. I placed the crown on his head, my hands shaking. Rise, Alpha King. My mate. My equal. My choice. He stood, and together we turned to face the court. We rule together, I said, my voice carrying with apex power. We change together. We build a kingdom where every wolf can thrive, not just survive. And anyone who stands against that vision stands against us both. The court erupted in cheers, or maybe shock, I couldn't tell the difference. But it didn't matter. Because Dmitri took my hand and raised it high, and through the bond one felt his absolute certainty. This was right. This was how it was always meant to be. Months passed. The kingdom stabilized. The vampire threat remained but didn't escalate. Kieran sent word from his exile that he was trying to become someone better, though I doubted he'd ever truly change. My family healed slowly. My mother worked in the palace gardens, finding peace in growing things. My father helped rebuild what the rebellion had damaged. Lily trained with the Luna Council, discovering a strength she'd never known she had. And Dimitri and I ruled. We fought sometimes, fierce arguments about policy and strategy that ended with us either solving the problem or agreeing to disagree. The bond made it impossible to hide from each other, which was both blessing and curse. But it also made our partnership unshakable. We were building something new. Something that had never existed before. An kingdom where power was shared. Where Omegas could rule alongside Alphas. Where strength was measured by more than physical dominance. It wasn't perfect. There were wolves who resented the changes. Packs that threatened to break away. Constant challenges to our authority. But we faced them together. 1 year after the claiming ceremony, I stood in our private chambers watching Dimitri play with our children. Nikolai was already showing signs of incredible power. He could make objects move with his mind. Aurora was quieter but no less formidable. She could sense emotions and manipulate them, a gift that terrified and amazed us both. "They're going to be terrors when they're older," Dimitri said, catching me watching. He stood, carrying both children, impossibly gentle with them. "Especially with you as their mother. Teaching them to challenge everything. You wouldn't have it any other way." I moved closer, running my hand over Aurora's silver hair. "No." He pulled me close with his free arm. "I wouldn't." His eyes met mine, amber and warm and full of everything we'd built together. "You know what the best part of this is? The prophecy was right. I did help remake the kingdom. But I didn't do it through destruction. I did it by finding you. By learning to share power instead of hoarding it. We did it together," I corrected. "Together," he agreed. "Always together." Nikolai squirmed, reaching for me with chubby hands. I took him, and Aurora reached for Dimitri, and we stood there as a family, broken pieces that had somehow formed something beautiful. "There's going to be more challenges," I said quietly. "The vampires won't stay away forever. There are still wolves who want the old ways back. And these two," I gestured to our children, "they're going to shake the foundation of everything we know about pack hierarchy." "Good." Dimitri's smile was fierce. "Let them. Let everything be challenged. That's how we grow. How we evolve." He pressed a kiss to my temple. "Besides, if anyone tries to threaten what we've built, they'll have to face an apex queen. And I've seen what you're capable of when you're protecting what you love." I laughed. "Is that fear in your voice, Alpha King?" "Respect." He corrected, but there was humor in his eyes. Healthy, rational respect for my mate who could absolutely destroy me if she wanted to. "I don't want to destroy you." I leaned against him, feeling the bond pulse warm and steady between us. "I just want to keep you honest. Then we're perfect for each other." And standing there in the obsidian palace that had once been my cage, holding children who would change the world, bonded to a mate who saw me as an equal, I realized he was right. We were perfect for each other. Not because the bond forced it. Not because biology demanded it. But because we chose it. Every day. Every moment. Two broken wolves who'd found each other in the chaos and built something unshakable. An alpha king who'd learned that true strength came from sharing power. And an apex queen who'd discovered that being visible meant being unstoppable. Together, we would rule. Together, we would change everything. And if anyone tried to stop us, well, they'd learn very quickly that challenging an apex omega was the last mistake they'd ever make. Dimitri caught my smile and raised an eyebrow. "What are you thinking?" "That you're in so much trouble." I grinned at him. "Because I'm just getting started." His laugh was rich and warm. "I wouldn't have it any other way." And as our children, both of them, miracles in their own right, cooed and reached for each other across our arms, I knew he meant it. The Alpha King and his Apex Queen. equals partners, mates, ready to remake the world. One impossible choice at a time. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe, like and share this video to continue listening to this type of story daily and also to appreciate this community too. I would like to hear your wonderful opinion about this story. Please comment below.